the problem for Putin is I think there isn't a way out for him because he fears that if he stops the war, then he's going to leave the Kremlin in a box.
Perhaps the most globally significant moment of the Donald Trump and Keir Starmer news conference was the president's comment on Ukraine. Donald Trump set a new deadline for Russia to come to a ceasefire agreement.
President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kiev and kills a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever. You have bodies lying all over the street. And I say that's not the way to do it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen.
Well, Donald Trump put the new deadline at 10 to 12 days away. Let's speak to John Sweeney, journalist and author of Killer in the Kremlin. Morning, John.
Good morning, Callum. And by the way, I'm with the person who says we should have 15 hours sleep.
Yes, quite right too.
Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey, that is an inspiration to us all, John. I think we can agree. 10 to 12 days away then, and perhaps it's the shortening of the deadline that is the most sort of important factor in this, that he's kind of intensifying pressure on Putin. Whether or not Putin feels that pressure, I think, is still up for grabs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like watching an enormous toddler who kind of fell under the spell of a sort of conjurer at a party, suddenly getting it that there's something creepy and wrong about the conjurer and going, oh, I don't like you. And now the entire world, and in particular, my Ukrainian friends fighting at the front line, are waiting to see what are the deeds, not the words. Now, the problem with Trump historically is that his rhetoric has become more and more hostile towards Putin, but the delivery of effective stuff to stop the Russian killing machine hasn't happened, and it's absolutely true that Ukraine is under tremendous pressure both at the front line and also because of the drone attacks. So, for example, when I was in Kyiv full time in 22 for the Battle of Kyiv, there was, the center of Kyiv was relatively safe. So, for example, the Russians put a great big rocket killing 5 civilians. I can remember I was there in the morning and I saw the people from the morgue take away a mother and a child and the body of an old man. But they were targeting the Kyiv TV tower. That was then. And now drones, something like 700 drones in one night have hit Kyiv. And some of them get through and they're killing people. So Trump's language, he's getting more and more angry with Putin. It's good. But what about the deeds?
Yeah. And what you're saying there, John, I think is fair to distill as his ultimatum diplomacy, if you like, hasn't worked up until now.
It won't work because Putin has lost 1 million Russians in terms of either dead or horribly maimed, so they're out of the war. So Russian society well, if the war stops, Russian society might wake up from its deep freeze, from its brainwashing, and go, well, what on earth was that about? Why would you do that? Why so many dead for that? Let's remember that only 15,000 Soviet troops died in Afghanistan. The war in Ukraine is colossally far worse in terms of loss of blood and treasure for Russia. So I don't think that Putin can actually stop the war, because if he stops the war, he's in trouble. So if Trump continues with this criticism and then follows it through with heavy metal, drones, money, all the stuff that's necessary to bring an end to the war, and you bring an end to the war by defeating Russia in Ukraine, by kicking Russia out of Ukraine, then there is going to be a much harsher, tougher standoff between the West, between the Americans and us and the Europeans backing Ukraine, quite rightly, and Russia. So the problem for Putin is I think there isn't a way out for him because he fears that if he stops the war, then he's going to leave the Kremlin in a box.
Is there any risk, John, of the approach of Trump to all of this undercutting Ukraine's agency in all of this? Washington dictating the terms of Ukraine's sovereignty?
I feel that's a minor risk. That you kind of, by the way, maybe your accent, but you kind of remind me of an Edinburgh lawyer coming up with some Donish tomfoolery. No, like you want America on your side. You certainly don't want America on Russia's side, which is where he started off. I mean, all of my Ukrainian friends were horrified with reason, as we all were, when Trump and J.D. Vance bullied Zelensky in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
So I think this new rhetoric is good. The bigger worry, at least for me, is China. What's happening now is that this massive drone swarm army, it's a bit like Space Invaders from the 1980s. So the game where there are so many Space Invaders coming at you, you get exhausted and you run out, and then and that's how the Russians are winning at the moment. That Space Invader army of drones is being funded and supplied by China. And it feels like that China has put its resources, and that they hide behind dual use and stuff like that, behind Russia staying in the war. And if Trump's serious, he's going to have to bring in sanctions, secondary sanctions, which says to China, if we see Chinese stuff in a Russian drone, then we're going to sanction the Chinese economy. And that will cost the United States economy a lot of money. So, but that's the kind of pressure that Trump needs to be serious about to start bringing the war to an end. And the worry is that despite the rhetoric, Trump won't follow through. We have to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah. John, good to speak to you this morning. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us.
I'm getting my 15 hours back now. Thank you.
Quite right too. That's the journalist and author of Killer in the Kremlin, John Sweeney. There was also these comments, just to be aware of, from Dmitry Peskov, Putin's spokesperson, talking about the potential of a meeting between Trump and Putin during the Russian president's visit to China in September, but apparently no specific preparations are underway. That was first mentioned, maybe a month or two ago, that it's not off the cards that there could be a meeting between President Trump and President Putin in China in September, but who knows, TBC.